Hello, so what I'm going to be trying today is a blank stream, sort of blank screen stream, so this is basically where I can read questions and try and answer them, but I don't actually have the webcam on, so there's not going to be people constantly saying, oh, show us the rifle in the background and stuff like that. So I thought this would be an easy way of doing it as well, so this is all set up. This picture won't change, it's just going to be that in the background. It's not actually obviously totally stretched to fit the screen properly. But there we go, that'll do. I don't really know what else I can do on the GP5. I've done loads of videos on it already. Cool, yeah, OM14's a nice mask. The MUA is even better, but yeah, OM14's fine. It's basically just the Polish SHM41, but obviously it's got the nice sort of shiny zinc metal bits on it, rather than being the sort of dark painted ones. Might even be able to get that picture actually stretched in a bit better. The design isn't very good on this program actually for that. Let's just mess about with this a second. Yep, there we go. That should be stretched to screen now in the right size. Let me just have a look. Yep, that looks good. I've said loads of times the GSR looks cool. It's a crap mask, but it looks cool, so I just like it for the picture. No idea, but lots of those claim that they are actually airsoft masks, so it doesn't really matter as long as you're not getting scammed into thinking it's a real gas mask. Gas mask feature, probably actually good straps. There's so many masks that would be great if they had good straps, but they just have awful straps. The good thing today as well is it's not stupidly warm, so it means I don't have to have the fan on really fast. Yeah, well, that's the same for me. Like I've said many times when people defend the GSR because it looks cool, I'm just saying for a picture it doesn't matter. No idea, because I don't do diving. If you're going to get into rebreathers, you'll need to really take courses on them and spend a lot of money, otherwise you're just going to die, because you don't mess about with rebreathers. No, I got asked about the MC1 the other day, but I have never seen it. I've just got the... oh, I've got an MC1. Yeah, like as in the CM3. So yeah, this MC1 I've got a mask of. But I was asked the other day, I think, about like a Polish mask or filter that was another similar thing. The GSR might, the M50 as far as I'm aware is very solidly made, because the M50 was to meet all the US Army's requirements for a better mask than the M40. So as far as I'm aware the M50 is quite good, but sadly because I don't own one I can't look into it further. Actual British made one, probably the Lee Enfield. Already explained the blank screen thing to people earlier. Because having a blank screen means we can focus on actually talking about stuff and not what's the rifle in the background for the 100th time. And again, if people keep asking questions I've answered loads of other times and not getting an answer. It totally depends on the mask with the lens shape. Like, in theory, a panoramic lens is the best thing, but lots of masks with panoramic lenses aren't that great, because, like I've said, many of them are just distort the vision and things like that. So, it really doesn't matter. I mean, circular can be better, triangular can be better. I think, really, as long as the lens is flat and you get a good field of view, it doesn't matter. I don't actually know what the best question I've ever been asked on the stream is. Don't feel too bad today. Like I said, the medication can be good and bad on days. It really depends. Not felt great, not felt awful. So, alright. Cool. What's the actual M15 hose like? Because I've never actually seen one for sale. I've only seen like photos of it with like Israeli soldiers. No, I've never got in trouble with police over really anything. I'm sure I'm on a watch list, but I've never actually got in trouble with the police because I don't go around breaking the law. And again, like I've said lots of times, if anybody gets too political, they just get a block because we're not here to talk about politics. I just literally get everything to do with masks off of eBay. Just because, like I said, you can get everything on eBay pretty much. Have they actually got you on any antibiotics? Fallout player? For all that? Or is it sort of just one thing after another where you get one thing and then, you know, and then you just keep feeling awful because you can't really be free of it, I guess. I think there was one kind of, antibiotic I can't take. I can't remember which one it is, but I swear I've been ill when I've taken one kind of antibiotic before. I really like the look of the S6, but it's not that practical when you're actually wearing it and looking out because of how it distorts the vision. Yeah, I get asked that every stream. I'll do more silly videos. But it's just when I get good ideas to do them, I'll do them, and I'm not going to do them too constantly. Because, I mean, you can never make everybody happy. Some people on YouTube do more silly videos, and other people are like, oh, why can't you always do serious videos? Because I only like serious videos. Yeah, you can get Lyme disease from ticks. What you obviously want to do is if you're walking through tall grass, get the trousers you can tuck into a boot or tie around a boot so there's no risk of them biting you. I know if you actually buy the modern British Army trousers, they coat them and the shirts with like some sort of mosquito killer, which also kills ticks. If you look at my video on the World War II, my deactivated weapons, you'll see on the thing, but D&B Military is where I get mine from, but if you want a link to that, it's always on the videos where I talk about them. Mine's an Argus one, like ARGUS, but there's a few other companies that do very similar ones, but it's basically the British standard type one. There's two types you get in Britain. You get that type I've got, and then you get one that's slightly different on the visor, but they're almost exactly the same. So, yep. Again, there's no point asking me what do I think about masks I don't own. If this is like when people keep saying, why don't you do a video on this mask? If I had the mask, I'd do a video on it. So, don't say what do I think of the M95, because I don't own one. I can't do a video on it, and therefore I can't really evaluate it. Because that's the thing, it'd be unfair to say a mask is good or bad without actually owning one, because then I'm just sort of speculating. Yeah, that's the stuff Fallout player Perma-Finrin, or whatever it's called, or the exact same one. They coat the modern British Army uniforms in it. So if you buy that, because quite often you can still buy them sealed in bags, it says, I think, for about 100 washes, it's still got the Perma-Finrin, or whatever it's called, on, and you can always buy it as a spray and put it back on. Again, I get asked about a PO box every stream, and at the moment, no. I don't know, Skunky Ferret. It might be it's just one of the hoses where sometimes they have longer and shorter screws, so it's compatible with more or less masks. So again, you're not always going to get a totally snug fit. Talc is talcum powder, pretty common thing. How harmful it is really varies. But basically, what you want to do with talc is wipe out the mask, because if you inhale talc, it can be risky. It's like not as bad as asbestos. Some sites say, you know, like, oh, talc will give you lung cancer. I don't think there's much evidence in that unless you're literally snorting talc like cocaine. But for the most part, you don't really want to be inhaling it because it's going to make you sneeze and everything else. Talc's just a white powder. GP5 rubber isn't really shiny. If you've got a shiny one, it might be a TF1. Oh, digital camouflage works the same way as regular camouflage works. It breaks up the user's form, the colours should blend into the environment. I've done a video, so watch that when it comes out, which explains the differences between digital and like original type camos, if you want to call it that. But in the grand scheme of things, there isn't much difference between digital camo and like traditional camos. As long as they've been both have been designed properly, they'll both do the job. Most GP5s do come with talc. Pretty much every Soviet mask or Warsaw Pact mask has a degree of talc on it if you get it and it's been stored. When you say the French gas mask you don't like, do you mean the M51? Because with the M51, that's not too bad a mask. The issue was they didn't ever replace it with anything better for like 40 years. That was the issue with it. If the M51 was in service for like 5 to 10 years and then they made something a lot better, that wouldn't really be a problem. Yeah, so like I say, on the M51, it's not a bad mask as such. The issue was that they were still making M51s, the original design, way into the 90s. So they didn't say, you know, this is a horribly outdated design, we need to make something better. They just stuck with it. Well, I don't have one in fabric, but I imagine the fabric would be more comfortable with the 4A1 head sort of harness, but it depends on the fabric and the mask as well. I collect masks, I don't break them, so there's no point me smashing a mask around. Yeah, the pen's anti-dim paste. It's like it's kind of like a fat or lard type stuff that you normally use. It normally smells horrible. Every GP5 or Soviet hood mask I've ever seen looks matte. I've never seen a shiny one. PBF is maybe a 5 or a 6. Depends on how much it pulls your hair, because obviously if you've got hair you won't like Soviet hood masks. And again, because it's a cheek filter mask, it's got a weird weight distribution. I mean, if Yellowstone erupts, it's going to pretty much wipe out all life on Earth, or the majority of life on Earth, so I don't think you should be too worried about it, because if it goes up, everybody's dead, so you can't really prepare for it. I've done a video on the differences between all the GP5 style masks, all the SHM masks, I advise you watch that. Basically, that's the one, see your gold pool. That's the video that basically explains the differences. But to be brief, the GP5s and all those other masks are spin-offs of the Russian SHM or the Soviet SHM-41 family of masks. And the SHM is kind of like the better mask that was the mass-produced one, because they had the SHM before that, or the SHM-1. And basically that design was so popular that the Soviets used it for the basis of all their other masks for ages, and lots of other Warsaw Pact things. The respirator, do you mean my channel thumbnail or the video thumbnail? The video thumbnail is a GSR, the mask I don't like. The channel thumbnail thing's the light anti-gas respirator. A nuclear winter is where, when all the nuclear bombs go off, basically the idea was that it would kick up lots and lots of dust, a bit like if an asteroid hit the Earth. And all the dust in the atmosphere would make it incredibly cold, crops would fail, and people would basically die off from exposure. The interesting thing as well with SHMs and like the GP5, because the GP5 is technically the SHM62. Even on SHM41s there are variants in the size of the inhale and exhale valve. So it's not actually a uniform thing on there. So yeah, as much as you can tell the difference between looking at some of the valves, it's not even that concrete, because there's variants in SHM design as well for the 41s. Yeah, Bagel, I've been on holiday to loads of places, as I always get asked on the stream, so I've been to loads of European countries. Well, no, because in a nuclear winter you die from the cold, or you die from there not being any food. It's not the radiation itself that's the nuclear winter, it's that the sun's basically blotted out. Yeah, definitely Stalker. Again, nuclear winter's theoretical, so we don't really know how long it would last. There's lots of documentaries explaining it. And again, it's something that might not even happen if there was a nuclear exchange, or it's something that could definitely happen, and then it ranges in time periods, so we don't know. Basically, it's bad if it happens, but how long will it occur for? Like Fallout Player was saying, if it's a short period, you might be alright. If it's a longer period, then nobody's alright. Yeah, if you buy lots of actual old civil defence and actual training stuff, they're generally good. Because it's generally advice that's designed to keep you alive. The issue is more when you get random like films and things where people think that's giving you good info. The profile picture is just the woolly pulley and everything else. There's nothing interesting on it. Yeah, I've seen lots of gas mask glasses inserts. I really don't need them because I'm short-sighted, not long-sighted. Now, if there's a nuclear exchange, your solar panel might be fried by an EMP. I'm just sort of saying that. You'd have to actually hope all the cables and everything else would still work. And I know you can shield stuff from EMPs. It's not the actual literal end of the world, but no, I don't have a T-35 gas mask. It depends what it's for, Skunky Ferret. For a regular person, no. For companies and like response agencies that have loads of money and training time, then yes, it makes perfect sense. Like hazmat suits are the literal best thing you can wear in a contaminated environment. The issue is that for most people they're totally completely unpractical. No, all the masks in my every mask in my collection I've done videos on. That's what I keep saying. It's pointless to ask, like, oh, have you got this mask and not done videos on it? No, because if I own the mask, I'll have done videos on it. Yeah, you also have to be careful with those Soviet ballistic helmets, because a lot of the ones sold aren't actual real titanium ones. They're like mock-up ones, I don't know what you call it, like replicas, which are just made out of stainless steel or aluminium. I've got a few helmets, not loads. I want to get a Pasca or an M88 helmet. I also like the current sort of British Mark 7 helmets, but I think they're replacing those soon. But I've not seen a Mark 7 helmet for sensible prices, really. Although saying that, if they do end up selling a lot of them on surplus, I assume the price would go down, and then I might actually buy a Mark 7 helmet. Well, my favourite type of weapon would actually be like an L1A1 SLR or whatever, but again, it's like practicality in the UK, you can't really get a shooting one of those. Your filters are just probably expired on it. That's the issue, is nobody makes cheek filters anymore. So if you've got an M10, you can't get new filters for it. All of them, all the somebody said about GP5s, now it's going into my head. All the cheek filters are long since expired. You might still get one that's in a foil wrap and it works, but again, you never get cheek filter masks for prepping because they weren't great when they were brand new, and now the filters are all long gone. GP5's a fine mask. I mean, there's nothing special about it. The thing is, a GP5 is the most common mask in the world. So, you know, it's the cheapest mask generally people can buy in the world as well. So lots of people buy a GP5 and they'll say, like, look, I've got an amazing gas mask. It's like a super rare mask, which it isn't. But again, the GP5 isn't bad. At least the people who had those masks would have lived in case, you know, they needed to use the mask. Whereas in the West, we didn't actually give masks to people in the Cold War, only the military. So, you know, the Soviets were one up on everybody there because at least they gave everybody masks. Or they had, you know, plans to distribute masks if they were needed. You could do a lot worse than a GP5 Fallout player, like half-face masks. Because I mean, if you've got a GP5 with a modern filter on it, it's going to give you better protection than a half-face mask, for example, because at least it covers the rest of your head. In terms of protection, they're not bad. It's just obviously people won't be able to hear you because your voice will be muffled. You know, and everything else. So, yeah, like, GP5s aren't bad, that's the thing. If you can still get filters for them that are in date, you know, they're great. And, yeah, Peach. So, yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, you're probably putting your chin too far into the mask. Your chin has to sit on the chin shelf of the mask. If you've already done lots of cleaning and it's not helped, the only thing I can suggest is blowing compressed air through the mask. Oh, like I was just saying, the GP5's fine. As long as you've got a new filter, like an FP5 filter or whatever else that you can put on a GP5 that's in date and safe, the mask will work as long as there's not a rip in it. Exactly, if a mask works, it's not bad. There's lots of things with comfort and everything else with a mask that are important, especially if you're wearing it for a long period of time. But for the most part, if a mask works and it makes an airtight seal of your face, it's not bad because it will keep you alive. That's the thing. I just look on eBay. There's lots of industrial sort of sellers that sell filters that are in date because they sell them to people, you know, who buy them for their jobs and things like that, and working and painting and working with chemicals. I'm tempted to say the GSR, but I don't actually think it's the least comfortable. And no, I've not really looked at how any of this Fallout 76 stuff. If it's a teaser trailer, obviously, I don't bother with teaser trailers because I wait for the actual trailers that show you stuff. I'm trying to think, have you seen The Day After? That's similar to Fred's and Wargame. I think there's some other films as well which aren't necessarily about nuclear warfare, which are quite similar in sort of tone and everything else about the Cold War. But off the top of my head, Fred's, The Wargame, and The Day After are like the big three nuclear films. If you get lost in the woods, you walk in one direction non-stop until you get out. Yeah, I've seen Dead Man's Shoes. I think I was talking about it on one Weapon Collector streams, Punisher. I don't know what Grey Shop is, so I can't tell you. Well, of course I put on. If I normally put on all the masks as long as they're safe to put on, but what you're describing sounds a lot like the SHMS or the MM1. Just like a mask with the front-facing lenses. You're going to need to get a mask that lets you mount frames to the inside. So, you're going to have to pay to get prescription frames made that fit the mask, and then you need a mask that will fit the frames. So that's totally up to you. A lot of modern masks will let you fit frames, but yeah, either use contacts, get laser eye surgery, somehow rig up the mask to have the glasses on the outside if that works, or you're going to have to spend, you know, all the money to get the frames and everything totally set up for it, because there's no other way of really getting around it, unfortunately. No problem, like I said, yeah, I've been trying to maintain the comments. Anybody who's still trying to do first, you get your comment deleted if you try and do first several times. I'm just going to block you, because I wish people would actually talk about the video, not trying to compete to who can shout first in the video comments. Years ago, I collect lots of militaria, and as I've said before, I collect gas masks because they're cheaper than lots of the stuff to buy, and they're interesting and cool. But I'll probably do a video soon, just like an FAQ one, explaining why I collect gas masks and lots of militaria, because I get asked that over and over. You mean the M56 helmet? Yeah, I have an M56 helmet. I've seen quite a few of the Swedish, like, civilian masks, if that's the one you mean, like, folk masks. I don't know if I've seen a Type 33, let me look that up. There's two types, I've got the Type 32, haven't I? Yeah, I know the Type 33 of the front-facing looking filter thing. Yeah, I know what you mean with that. There's a Finnish mask I might get at some point, which sometimes is around £30 on eBay, which is like a panoramic lens Finnish mask from the Cold War. That looks kind of interesting. German Resistance, any mask that's a sensible price, like a GP5 or an M51, if you can get an M51 in a condition where it's not falling apart. An M65, an M9 or an M9 variant like an M61. Kevlar vest, you can get those for £30, £40. If I was getting a really good Kevlar vest, I'd go up to over 100 on it. But that would be half the one that, you know, has a really good, well-fitting plates and it's a really comfortable design. My Riot Shield, I think, was about £40. Again, it's just looking to see them at good prices. Don't pay for the first one you see. I buy all my stuff from eBay, so anywhere across the world where I've got militaria from and surplus, it's primarily from eBay. PC, I've got some older consoles, but I mostly just obviously use PC because you can get the games much cheaper. You can use the PC for other stuff. Obviously I use it for video editing. Yeah, I've played the original Operation Flashpoint. They call that Arma Cold War Assault now, don't they? Yeah, I like Arma 2 quite a lot as well. Riot Shields are typically made of polycarbonate, so you might be able to hear it. Polycarbonate's like a really sturdy plastic. It's not bulletproof, but it's impact proof, sort of knife proof and everything else. Some riot shields are made out of aluminium or aluminum, depending on whatever you want to call it, in different thicknesses. And I think there are other types of riot shield materials out there, but polycarbonate's kind of the good one. I have got some videos on my channel from games. Sometimes I stream games, but I'm not going to do a second channel now because it takes too much time just doing content for this channel. As I was saying, polycarbonate's a type of plastic. Do you mean celluloid? Celluloid's like an old type of film kind of plastic. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but celluloid, you know, is like what they used in old film reels and stuff like that. And they did do celluloid masks at one point. There's a really creepy mask that looks like a doll's face that was made of celluloid, but it didn't catch on. But yeah, it's just like early plastics. It's like Bakelite. That was an early plastic that was used for quite a lot of stuff. Bakelite or Bakelite, which is the weird brown looking kind of plastic. It's kind of cool stuff, Bakelite, but there's no need for it anymore because we have better modern plastics. Yeah, most are made of polycarbonate. As I say, in polycarbonate's basically what they use now. Polycarbonate and polypropylene are two very strong plastics, but polycarbonate you can make see-through, which is obviously good for riot helmets. I think we all know who Frank Sinatra is. Hello. No problem, Basebox. I mean, one of the reasons it does seem friendly is because I generally purge people that aren't friendly from the videos. But yeah, for the most part, it's alright. It's just every now and again you do have to trim the fat. I was saying that's why I can actually respond to so many of the comments, is because I just delete the stuff that's utter crap so I can reply to people with genuine questions. I'll bring a tank, obviously, because it's bulletproof. There's acrylic as well, which is see-through plastic, which can be fairly strong. But yeah, polycarbonate is basically replaced acrylic now because it's just simply better than acrylic. Oh, is that the one that was just in Budapest? Yeah, because there was one I saw in Budapest with the cracked like lenses just outside. I didn't go in the shop or anything, I just noticed it when I was there last year. Yeah, I was saying to people earlier, Britain, I'm not too bad, but I've had like some of the tablets I'm on. Some days I feel fine, other times they make me feel ill. So yeah. So I'm generally alright with it, it's just the tablets aren't that kind of straightforward, if that makes sense. Some days they're fine, other days they make me feel ill. But I'm finishing the course on one lot of them very soon. So once I finish that course, it's going to be playing it by ear and see if I start getting better or if I start getting worse again. And if I start getting worse, it'll be trying to find me a different type of tablet to take. Yeah, Bakelite's cool stuff. Like I said, it's kind of just been replaced by modern plastics, but it looks cool. Yeah, most of the Danish masks are actually bought as surplus because, as far as I'm aware, during the Cold War, Denmark had the Lag Mark 1, Lag Mark 2, and the GM38, all of which are the original ones that were sold as surplus, and then they've got the Danish stamps on top of the original stamps. So it's like one of my light anti-gas respirators has the British stamps from 1944 on it, and then it has Danish stamps from like the 50s or something when it was sold. I get the airsoft question every stream, so I'm not going to answer it properly. I'm just going to say when I get time, which is the real pain trying to organise it. As far as I'm aware, no. I mean, there might be some people who are like really into getting the masks with only original stamps, but I find it quite cool when you get stuff and it's got the original stuff on and then like a kind of sale, all the stamps on that sort of stuff. My oldest mask will be one of my British World War II ones. I'm not sure which the oldest one is, because some of them, the date stamps are pretty faded on it, but that's going to be like early 1930s for one or two of those masks. Alright, see you if you're off. Billy Beep, there are dislikes because there are people who don't like my content, that's why. There are people that are so sad, right, they subscribe just to dislike my videos. I mean, if you don't like it, don't watch it, is my opinion, but, you know, some people are masochists. But if you do like my videos, it's probably a good idea if you like the stream. That way, you know, it's good for the stream and my videos if you actually like them, if you do like the videos. So yeah, just click like if you actually do like them. And that balances that out. Alright, see you, Fallout player. I also have one of those other Belgian masks from World War II, I think it is, which is probably early 30s. I don't actually know if I can fix a strap on the C3. I've not really tried, to be honest. It looks like it's going to be a pain to fix, but I've just, you know, I've not gone back to try and do it because I've not needed the mask since. I don't really know. I'd do a hybrid of different masks. I think I've talked before that basically if I was to design a mask, it would basically be more like a full polycarbonate kind of face visor with just a bit of a see-through oral nasal cup and everything else inside to make it comfortable. The Stuka's my favourite plane from World War II. I know that's not technically a fighter, it's a fighter bomber. But it's a really cool plane. If you've Hans Ulrich Rudel's book's very good as well, Stuka Pilot. I have a feeling I've got a couple of the Gothic games on my Steam library I bought in a Steam sale at one point, but I've never played them. At least I don't think I have. I keep getting asked this by you about Italian masks because I don't see them for sale. I can't magically get stuff that's not for sale on eBay. There's your answer. People asking for links. People can't post links in chat. It won't let you. I can't even approve the links myself, so if somebody tries to post a link, it just deletes it from YouTube chat. You can't post it. I've got several machetes and I don't have a tomahawk, so that would be a machete. That's pretty cool. I've never actually seen the Mark 6s with the visors for sale, because I've got the one with the visor mount, but unfortunately, like I said, I've not seen the visors for sale. The only annoying thing, well, there's several annoying things. Mark 6s have quite bad head harnesses on the inside. They're also ballistic nylon, not Kevlar, so they don't offer very good ballistic protection. And you can't lay down and shoot them properly. There's not many. I mean, there's masks where people wear... there's films where people wear masks absolutely fine, but it's not a big part of the film. I don't think I've ever seen a film where it's about chemical warfare type stuff and the masks have actually been the right masks for the period or with the filters in the correct places and anything else. The Diac FAL, the L1A1, was about £400 when I got it years ago, but since then they'd have gone up a lot because the UK Diac laws have changed. MiG-25 would probably be my favourite MiG. Is that the Foxbat or is that Foxhound MiG-25? I can't remember, but the really fast one. Just buy a modern mask, Brandon. It really doesn't matter. Any modern mask is going to be fine as long as it comes with a decent filter. I carry a wallet on me when I need a wallet. I don't carry a wallet on me when I don't need a wallet. So there you go. If you're on about EDC of a wallet, in one of my EDC videos, the wallet's definitely in there. So I've covered it before. Weirdly, I've not actually seen the original All Quiet on the Western Front. I saw the remake from the 70s, which wasn't too bad. But yeah, I really ought to watch the black and white original. I've just never seen it. Never played Fortnite, don't intend to. Well, I'm sure I would like Gothic, but I said I've never played it. Cool, yeah, do you like your SHMS? Yeah, the weird thing is with the Mark 6 is, although it's ballistic nylon, and, you know, it should be good, because ballistic nylon's like pre-Kevlar, it's still decent stuff. There's just not that... The Mark 6 is kind of poorly designed. So yeah, it's like if you look at Pascat helmets or M88 helmets, they're like the much nicer helmets from the period, and there's some old steel pot helmets I'd probably trust more than the Mark 6. Like the East German M56 has got very good ballistic ratings for an old steel helmet. Yeah, I don't know why my stream would be in a recommended list or not in a recommended list unless you're subscribed. Yeah, I have shot 22 long rifle before, and I've shot shotguns before, but not often. I used to know people who had a farm, but I haven't shot in years. And that's one of the reasons, like I've said, I've never bothered getting guns for my actual gun safe, because of the reason that I don't want to pay a firearms license, have the police all right over and all this sort of stuff if I've not got nowhere I can actually shoot. Yeah, I've played the 2 Metro games out, haven't read the books. The Metro fanboys hate me because I complained about the filters running out every 5 minutes and they kept making excuses up for it. And some of the masks in Metro are missing valves and stuff, so they wouldn't work anyway. You can find videos online where people have converted masks for scuba stuff. You just have to be really careful doing that, because if you're underwater and a valve breaks, you could drown. And obviously, the thing you need to be careful about as well is there's lots of things with diving about, like oxygen mix and like nitrogen mix in the like canisters and everything else. So yeah, it's one of those things that really ought to be quite qualified to do, and that's why I keep saying, you know, don't mess about with rebreathers. Please don't do that unless you're trained to use them. Like, I've put my rebreather on with no scrubber, you know, just to show what it looks like, and then you can still nearly suffocate with it on. But, you know, rebreather scrubbers are something you really don't mess about with unless you're trained and you've got one that's certified to work properly. I really don't know about how often you have to go shooting with the gun in the UK. I think for a shotgun you don't even need to actually go shooting, but like I said, it's pointless me paying for a license and spending loads on a shotgun and shells to never shoot it, just having it sitting in a gun safe. And again, I think the police are able to just decline you on a gun license if they just don't like you, so again, yeah, because depleted uranium's really hard, so it's great for tank shells. Well, when I use a GP5, I normally use modern filters on it. I don't use the old filters, and I've had several x-rays carried out where they've also checked for asbestos scarring on my lungs, and I'm fine. Yeah, I've seen some, with some of the smellies, or SMLEs, the Enfields with the sport conversions. I've seen some that look atrocious, and some that look alright. I mean, with all those classic guns, I'd rather people keep them in the original furniture. But I suppose if somebody doesn't do too bad a job of converting it and they get a lot of use out the rifle, then that's good. But, you know, I'd really only like people to do that if the wood's all cracked and broken, rather than, you know, just saying, oh, let's take all the wood off and stick plastic on an old rifle. The IP5 is just like a really thick GP5 in terms of rubber. But it's really tight, because obviously it has to work underwater where there'd be pressure trying to push it up. Now, if I owned an M50, I'd have done a video on it. How many times do I have to repeat this? Hungry Hungarian, I've already said we don't go into politics too much on here because people always try and derail the conversations and everything else. But if you want a quick answer, I don't really support Israel or Palestine because they both act like children. Yeah, no worries, it's just like I said, if people often try and steer these conversations like, oh, are you a Nazi? Are you a fan of Hitler? Because that's inevitably what happens on these conversations when people try and spin it, you know, to that. And no, I am not a fan of Hitler, but, you know, whatever, you know. Yeah, people die in war, though, that's the thing, Dark Shadow. It's like, it's horrible stuff, but it's war, you know. People die in wars. UK MTP for practicality, strict harm for retro stuff, and flecked harm for just cool factor. Well, I can't think anything of Stalker 2 until it's out and I've played it. Like I've said loads of times about Stalker 2, if it comes out and is a good game, great. I just really hope that they, you know, they make it good. You know, because it might get cancelled again like it did the first time. Or, you know, it might just turn out to be terrible like lots of games are when they're in development for too long. Well, really what should have happened with Korea is back in the Korean War, Douglas MacArthur should have been allowed to drop the bombs. They should have wiped out North Korea there and then there wouldn't be this horrible Korean conflict that's still ongoing with, obviously, all the gulags and everything else in North Korea. But sadly they didn't let him do his job, and then obviously North Korea as it exists still exists today. No, I cleaned up the mace the other day because that, I don't know what it is for that mace, but it always keeps getting this weird residue on it. Like none of my other swords or axes or anything else ever do that, but the mace for some reason gets this waxy kind of stuff on it, which is really weird. I don't know what it is because I've tried cleaning it with silicone grease, I've tried cleaning it with sword oil, I've tried cleaning it with rubbing alcohol, and I have no idea what actually makes this stuff appear on it because it keeps doing it every time. So I've now taken it out of the box it was in, I've thrown the box away, I've cleaned it, and now I've put it in like just a plastic bag, and I want to see if it's in the plastic bag for a couple of weeks, if it ends up rusting or developing any weird sort of stuff on it. Somebody was saying to me earlier they live in a country where it's actually illegal for civilians to wear camo, and I said, well, that sounds a bit like a dictatorship. I don't think he said which country it was. I wear camo and don't give a shit, but I normally don't imitate a soldier, because I think, you know, that's a scummy thing to do, like the Stolen Valor stuff. So, unless I'm doing a camo test, I won't ever have full camo uniform on. Generally, what I do a lot of the time is just wear camo trousers or shorts with regular t-shirts, because that's, you know, comfortable. And you get loads of pockets on camo trousers and everything. But for, yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't wear any modern, like, uniforms that are, like, the same as what my country wears and everything else, unless I'm doing a camo test. I mean, I think it does look a bit weird when you see somebody wandering around a city in full camo or whatever, but, no, you're not muted from chat, Basebox, I can see your comment. But, you know. Again, like Dark Shadow, I don't know what you want me to say about this because I've not read uploads on depleted uranium. They use it because it's effective at blowing through tank armor. That's why it's there. But yeah, like I said, I haven't heard anything in this country about, you know, like people wearing camo. That's against the law, but I mean, the way this country's going, anything will soon be against the law, won't it? So. Somebody's accused me of being Walter Mitty before simply just for doing videos on old military stuff. So somebody doesn't really know what it is, but yeah. So then I never go around in, like, especially parade uniforms. Like, why would you ever do that? Like, the only parade uniform stuff I have is like the old East German and some of the commie ones. But yeah, like I said, I wear full camo when I'm doing camo testing stuff. Like, you're perfectly entitled to do that. if you weren't, you know, the MOD would not sell it as surplus. The MOD sell it as surplus because they want to get money for it. Lots of people wear camo, it's not a problem. But Walter Mitty's I think it's kind of like a slang thing. It's just basically like somebody impersonating a soldier who's not been in the army. But some people who have been in the army get very funny about that. I think some of them aren't even people who've been in the army. It's people who don't like the idea of anybody talking about military stuff ever. So, you know, I suppose historians can't look at previous conflicts either and stuff like that. Unless something radical happens, base box, we won't, because the laws are just getting worse year on year. Probably Flectarn, but I do like Marpat, but suddenly you don't really see Marpat over here. Cadpat's really cool, but again, the thing is, the Canadian thing's weird, because the Canadian government actually don't let, or the Canadian military don't let that be sold as surplus. And one of the reasons they stated was stolen valor, but the problem is loads of other companies make those same camo gear anyway, so it doesn't matter. They just think it's a weird interest. You know, saying Stolen Valor's the name I use, and when I've always seen Stolen Valor, it's somebody in a dress uniform wandering around with a load of medals on their chest that they've just bought online, and then trying to lie about when they've been, you know, in the thing. But yeah, some people go as far as saying, oh, if you're wearing camo trousers, that's Stolen Valor. They don't really know the meaning of the word. I don't find anything more creepy than the World War II American Mickey Mouse mask. Alright, see you, Hungarian. But, see you, anybody else who's going. But, there's the US optical masks from World War II, which are creepy looking. They're the ghost people masks from Fallout New Vegas. If you know those masks, they're the, US, optical masks from World War II. Yeah, no problem. I do lots of videos because hopefully that actually help people out. If you're in America, you can't legally send Marpat. It's covered under the same stuff as the gas masks. Exporting it is a criminal offence because it's military technology, technically. You can actually buy reprints of Marpat here, but I wouldn't want to spend the money on a reprint. So yeah, thanks for the offer, but I've got no real use for it. I'll just get some when it turns up, like a lot of the other stuff. No, I've not made my own camo other than dyeing that other camo. I mean, it's a shame that you can't really have a thing cheaply printed. I've messed around in like paint programs before trying to design a good like template for a camo. Yeah, some of the World War I designs look really weird. The first Tissot tube mask looks really weird. No, I've never used OTF knives. Yeah, the weird thing with the US laws is if you go to the States, you can buy all the stuff over there and bring it back in your luggage. That's not a problem, but businesses aren't allowed to export it. So it's really weird, you know, it's like, you know, you could actually go on holiday to the Americas, fill a suitcase up with loads and loads of American military stuff, bring it back, that's not a problem. If you try and send it to somebody in another country, that is a problem. I don't know, I've never looked up an OTF knife, so I can't actually, you know, see it. I mean, I suppose I could look it up quickly. It depends what terminology it falls under. If it's like a spring-assisted knife, that will be illegal. If it's just a regular opening knife, it's not illegal. So, you know, who knows? But anything could just become illegal at the click of a fingers if they decide to, you know, just change the laws on it again. No, there are no bulletproof gas masks. As we were saying earlier, polycarbonate's the strongest material they use in gas masks at the moment, and that's not bulletproof. Polycarbonate will protect you from bricks and, like, maybe air rifle pellets. Yeah, it'll stop air rifle pellets. maybe low-speed arrows and stuff as well, but it won't stop full-on crossbow bolts or bullets. But yeah, I did have a guy trying to convince me that there's bulletproof gas masks, and I was like, well, you're going to have to link me to one because they don't exist. And then he linked me to just a regular respirator, and he's like, that's bulletproof. I was like, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. I've got one. It's bulletproof. So yeah, after he was just pointlessly arguing that for a while, I just got irritated with him and blocked him. I couldn't work out if he was actually a troll or an idiot. One or the other, but you know. But yeah, there was a guy, you know, like, who did like 10 replies going, no, it's a bulletproof mask, it's a bulletproof mask. And it was just a regular mask. It didn't even say on the website that it was bulletproof he was linking to. No, I've got one, it's bulletproof. No, I'm not going to War and Peace. That is a big book, on an unrelated note. Speaking of Italy, though, what's actually going on with the election? Because I know you had, like, 2 Eurosceptic parties, elected, didn't you? And then, like, the Prime Minister or the President or whatever was refusing a coalition, but from what I've heard now, they're now in power, are they? So, did he step down or whatever, or back off because people were saying they'd do him for treason? Because they were the elected parties? I don't know, I've not read too much into it because I don't read the news, but that was quite interesting. When you say military leverage, do you mean like a coup type thing, or like the military imposing? I've heard rumours from things, and again, I never know how true they are, that if Corbyn was to win an election, there might be a coup. I don't know how true that would be, especially, you know, if he was very anti-Trident and everything else I could see that, but I actually think, you know, the way this country's going, a military junta would be more responsible than the Tories or Labour. The Paras are pretty good. I mean, obviously, like, the SAS and SBS are, like, the most elite of the divisions. I know a guy who joined the Paras. He was a really nice guy. I think he's still in the Paras. But I've had relatives in various army bits, but, you know. Like, people always ask me in streams, if I could afford to move to the US and getting a visa was that easy, then sure, but it's not that easy. I've said before, every Chinese gas mask filter I've used has been totally useless. Some of the Chinese masks are alright, but the actual filters are just awful. But yeah. Like, I've had the tiny Chinese filters that are refillable. And those don't work because the surface area of the filter is too small to actually absorb, you know, anything to work properly. It would lower the amount of stuff you can smell, and that's about it. The filters did the same thing with the 3M type mask I got. They were both leaking, and if I put the banana oil to it, you could smell the banana oil straight through the filter. So again, they wouldn't actually work. But, you know, some of the Chinese masks are right. The Chinese military masks are quite good. Any Chinese military mask I've bought, because I've got the, is it the M61 or the M69? The one I have, it's the M69, I think, isn't it? Yeah, the M69. That's kind of like a PMG. That's a good mask. And I've got the one which is the FMJ05. That's a good mask, but the filters are awful. However, some of the Chinese civilian masks that I've bought, the industry ones, they've been pretty terrible. Like the silicone one that looks great until you try and tighten the straps and the straps ping off and the mask folds into your face. My second favourite mask, I've already done videos on this, would be the Forshida. Sadly, I don't. If I had the military version, I'd prefer that, but the A4 is still pretty damn good. It's like the most comfortable mask I have out of all my masks. When I tighten that to my face, it suction cups exactly to my face, so I could undo the straps and it would still hold on tight. It's more comfortable than my CT12 and FM12. However, because you can only have filters on one side of it, the voice diaphragm isn't as good and stuff like that. I do prefer the FM12 and CT12. I was saying about that earlier, if I was to design a mask, I would like a massive polycarbonate kind of ballistic lens on it. and then, like, you know, you just make the rest of it out of silicone and butyl rubber, so it will actually sit on your face. I'm sure you could do it, but I damaged part of my finger when I was shooting a crossbow before. Luckily it was a pistol crossbow, so it didn't take my finger off, but with the pistol crossbows, some of them, it's easy for your finger to ride above the string line because of how small they are, so that really hurt. I broke a slow motion camera, unfortunately, doing one video. We put the slow motion camera behind a riot shield. We were testing the riot shield, and the impact broke the motor in the camera for the zoom in, zoom out. So, yeah, unfortunately, I managed to break the really expensive camera. So that's really irritating. Again, it's like one of those things where the big YouTube channels, when they do stuff like that, they, you know, when they do stuff like that, I think they can easily just afford replacement cameras. Sadly, I can't. I was looking forward to that FPS 1000, whatever it's going to be called, but that never seemed to materialise at the sensible prices they were always saying through the Kickstarter it was going to happen. If you'd like to donate, which is very kind of you, you can either do a super chat, or in the video description I have a Patreon, and then you can donate on Patreon. I can get angry, but it generally takes a lot to wind me up to the point where I'll get really angry. Like, I always block people on YouTube before, you know, I get to the point where I'd actually lose my temper at them, because I think a lot of people want a reaction. So if I think people are just trying to wind me up, they get a block. I've been more irritable recently, but I think that's some of the medication I'm on, because there's shitloads of side effects for that. Like, you know, nausea, headaches, lightheadedness, irritability, lack of sleep, all stuff like that. But yeah, if anybody is interested in donating, the Patreon link is in the description. You can click on that and then you can donate whatever you want to me. It can just be $1 through Patreon. One of my rewards on Patreon is that you can get on my Discord server, but that's a shit-throwing fit most of the time, because I'd only ever ban people from the Discord if they go to the stage of being really offensive. So lots of people like to wind each other up on there on purpose, but they never quite cross the line. No, I don't have an Instagram. I don't know if I could become an Instagram celebrity if I randomly took photos and masks, but I have no idea. I have no interest in taking pictures of plates of food and putting weird filters on them, which everybody I knew had Instagram. That's what they did with it. Look at my dinner. I've put a yellow filter over my dinner. Well, you can't really spam this chat because there's like slow mode on, but if you were on purposely spamming it, I just block you. Yeah, I'd probably die if World War III broke out, to be honest. That's what most people would do, because World War III would most likely be a nuclear exchange, so we're screwed. Are you saying, can you put a gas mask on top of goggles or glasses? Not really, it would break the seal or maybe damage the glasses. No, because on Steam, when people have added me on Steam, they non-stop PM me. It's constantly, do you want to play a game? Let's just chat about stuff. And I don't want to be rude, but I'm kind of a bit antisocial. When I want to speak with friends, I'll speak with my friends I know in real life. Like, I don't mind chatting with people now and again on here, but it's just kind of irritating if you sign into Steam, and the moment you sign in, people start PMing you. Yeah, Rammstein. Well, do you mean the Rammstein air base where they had the air accident, like the really bad air crash at the air show, or Rammstein, like the German metal band? I know both. What's an ROC post then? Let me look it up. How much do they sell them for? I'd love to buy something like that if they are actually sold at a sensible price. I mean, I'd love a bunker. That would be great. I don't know if there's any proper site that sells them. Because there's some sites that sell small, like, bits of woodland that isn't too expensive. Because if I bought woodland, I could legally get a gun and just shoot it on my woodland. That'd be great. But yeah. Most of the sites I find don't look like they've been updated in years for those old little airfield bunkers. Yeah, I wouldn't pay 15 grand for one of them. I've seen some actual proper bunkers for cheaper than that. You know, like the ones that have several beds in, like a little kitchen area. No, I don't speak Italian. I literally can't speak any language other than English. I can do German very badly. Hello, my Deutsch is nicht gut. Sprechen Sie English? Ja, ja, ja. But that's like that's how as far as I go with a foreign language. Speaking of German bands, one I like is Feinflug, which is about Feinflug. I might be on for a bit longer, Mike. I'm just doing like a blank screen video today that works alright. Because it means I can sort of keep going for longer because I don't have to keep looking at the camera and all stuff like that. It means I can, you know, kind of relax a bit more. Yeah, but Feinflug, I'll type it in the chat so you can see how it's spelled, because it's, I think it's like Feinflug it's pronounced, but it's spelled like that. They're like a really early industrial German, like synth band. If you like the soundtracks to the original Command & Conquer games, like the first Command & Conquer and Red Alert, Feinflug sounds a lot like that. Otherwise, I like a lot of prog rock and stuff like that, but that's older music and soundtrack stuff. But no, most bands you'll mention I won't know, because I'm kind of a bit... I'll listen to stuff I like a lot, and then I don't have, you know... I don't think there's... I mean, if they made new GP5 type masks, and they made proper filters for them, that would be fine to issue, because it'd be a proper respirator. But NATO states really should make their masks in 40mm Stanag, shouldn't they? NATO, RD40. They shouldn't do them in GOST. So maybe we can force all of these nations that want to keep using old masks to make modern versions in NATO. Because I'd love that if you could just buy a NATO GP5 type mask. You know, grab one of those. The rubber on my GSR started ripping. The MM1 I've got on display on my mannequin, because sunlight hits that every day, the rubber's cracking on that. Some of my World War II masks have cracked rubber, but that's just because they're so old. But none of my proper Cold War masks are ripped. Yeah, it's more like a podcast type thing, Mike. In the streaming program I'm using, it's really easy, because you can either select like an input from a webcam, you can select an input from a static picture or picture slideshow. Or, you know, you can stream your screen. So that's what I do when I'm playing games, like the streaming of the screen. But, yeah, just having the, like, banner picture is really easy, because it just means that, you know, I can kind of check other things up easier, and I think it doesn't need as much bandwidth either to just transmit a static picture. No, the only thing like a GP5 with a Stanag thread is the TF1. Yeah, I'm reading the chat, but I can't answer every, question, obviously, because the issue is the chat moves too fast, and often I have to take a while to explain, you know, like my answer to one person and the chat's moved. The thing I don't like about Slipknot though, Peach, is Sid Wilson damaging all those masks, because I keep getting people go, that's Sid Wilson's mask from Slipknot. It's like, oh no, it's an older mask. I really want to get a GP9. The issue is I've not seen any GP9s for sale that have been sensible on postage. I've been over this a few times. Basically what happens is you look at GP9s, you can basically look at masks coming from all over Europe, and they've got the price, and then they've got maybe £5 to £10 postage max. And that's £10 postage is like when they come really fast, really well wrapped, with a good courier service. Lots of the masks being sold from Russia, they want over £30 postage on top of the price of the mask for like a really slow delivery. It's like, no, Ivan, I'm not falling for that, because I know I can buy this sort of same thing from anywhere else in the world, and I'll get, you know, sensible prices for postage. But it seems like that's a common thing with Russia. you know, where all the neighbouring countries... I mean, maybe there is additional fees for Russia, but not that much. So, yeah. I don't actually know what the Italian army uses at the moment. It's like one of those things where I've tried to look up and it's quite hard to find info out. I don't actually know because I've not looked at the pictures of Sid with the masks on well enough, but I just know I get angry when I see like old masks that have been like had spikes put through them and everything else. With lots of masks you just rip bits off and stuck bits on there. Like we were saying before, it's like some of these masks can potentially be quite rare. If somebody did stupid stuff like that to a GP5, I wouldn't really mind. But when especially if it's older, rarer masks, doing that's kind of horrible. It's, you know, like breaking antiques. It's like we were saying earlier about people buying old Enfields and Mausers and, oh, I'm going to break the wooden stuff off and put, like, some plastic on it. The one I really hate is, I saw a thing from America. This is kind of like a meme. Have you seen the redneck gun things where rednecks get guns and do horrible things to them? They, like, make them orky. But there's one where a guy bought an East German AK, the MPIK, in like the original furniture, so it had the beautiful like plasticky bake-like furniture on that looks really nice. They're really rare because it wasn't even like a parts kit one. He somehow managed to get you know, like an actual proper, I don't know if it was fully automatic or if it was, you know, only worked in semi, because I don't like what machine gun legislation it was on, but long story short, he'd got what looked like a completely original East German AK with the really old nice furniture on. And then what he'd basically done was he got a hammer and he broke all of the East German plastic or bakelite off and stuck an M4 stock and an M4 grip on it. It's like, what the fuck have you done to a rare gun like that? Why? Why did you feel the need to break a gun like that? It reminds me of those Ivan things, you know, that are archived from K, which are pretty funny. Sergei Skiminov must be spinning in grave from what you have done to his rifle, or whatever it is. But, yeah. Like, if it's just some, like, mass-produced gun that you can get easily, I don't mind when people do that, but, you know, when you actually break a classic gun, or a very rare gun, because, oh, you can make it look cool. It's like, why didn't you just buy an AR-15 if he wanted AR furniture on a gun? I mean, an AR-15 would be more accurate than an AK anyway. But no, buy a rare East German AK and smash the shit out of it to put M4 furniture on it. Why? We have armed police and we have military police, but military police are like to police the military. Yeah, but this guy literally hit it with a hammer. Because he was like chiseling and hammering it off and it was like all shattered. Then he showed a picture in the bin of the broken furniture. I'm sure, probably Challenger 2 for main battle tank, just because it's very advanced, but for retro ones, like I always get asked, T-55s and T-72s I always love the look of. Favourite Stalker faction is, that's a good one, maybe Ecologists, I think I get asked that before. Clear Sky if you want a more militant faction, but the proper way of playing Stalker's Loner. Yeah, the blank screen test thing is, blank screen stream is just literally, yeah, not a moving picture, no webcam, but just me talking into a microphone. Because I find I can kind of talk for longer if I'm doing this, because I'm not getting so worn out where I have to keep looking into the webcam, looking back to the screen. Maybe people can hear I sound a bit tired, but people at least don't go, oh, you look tired constantly, like they do on these streams, because, you know, looking into a bright screen kind of makes you squint a bit, and it's in the evening. I might get an Ushanka at some point. I might do an updated video on my helmets, because I've got quite a bit on Patreon. I might cash that out soon, and I'm tempted to either maybe bite the bullet and get a GP9, or maybe get an M88 or a Mark 7 helmet, because I kind of want to get a modern Kevlar helmet, and then, you know, get a helmet cover for it. Then what I'd probably do is buy another scrimnet, cut up the scrimnet, and make my own kind of camo ghillie kind of cover for the helmet, so I could actually make a proper tactical military one kind of thing. Alright, cheers Vladimir, that's nice to hear. Yeah, we were talking about that in Weapon Collector's stream for the hour or so I was able to stay in that yesterday before I had to go out. That, you know, yeah, I know, but whenever I do the evening streams, people always go, oh, you look tired. Maybe it's because people are in other time zones, or maybe, you know, people are, you know, but whatever. For the person asking about vests much earlier up, yeah, I've seen Session 9. I haven't watched it in ages, so I might watch it again. I know Session 9 and Jacob's Ladder were like quite influential horror films when they came out. Session 9 is one of the creepy audio tapes, isn't it? But the person asking me about flak vests and all that, body armour, I don't have a plate carrier. I've got a level 2 Kevlar front and back vest, the ex-police one with the chainmail stab layer on it. And I've got an old British Army Northern Ireland flak jacket that's like the US Vietnam flak jackets. But at some point I may invest in a plate carrier. Are they Kevlar ones, mate, or are they like the old steel pots? Because you can get lots of helmets here which are about £30, but they're just the old steel pot helmets. So I'll just have a quick look online. Dutch helmet, just to see what they look like. One of them's quite cool. It reminds me a bit of the Soviet one. I really like the look of some of the old steel ones, actually. I'm not seeing really any Kevlar ones coming up. I'm seeing all... I think some of those Dutch ones are the same as the British tortoise helmets, like the Mark IV, Mark III or Mark IV helmets. I can see a Dutch Kevlar helmet G1, which is a Pascat helmet or an M88, like the ones I was saying about, because lots of nations have used those because it was like a winning design when America designed them. No, I've not got another Canadian C3. I'll try and repair that one, but it's not important. Like I said, I mostly just collect the masks, so if I've got a mask in my collection that was fine for ages and then got damaged, it doesn't really matter, it's still in my collection. Yeah, as I said, the Dutch one looks interesting, the old steel one, because it has that kind of look of some of the old really cool looking helmets. No, I don't speak Norwegian. I was asked that earlier, do I speak anything? I speak German badly, other than speaking English. And when I speak English, I speak the Queen's English. Well, I don't speak in a posh voice and say "we," the royal "we," but I do, you know, speak. When I type out English, I always use English spelling. I don't have Americanized English when I speak English. If I see a Chinese M65 with cheap postage on it and everything else, I will eventually get one. But I think it's an asbestos filter, but it's the total abomination of a cheek filter mask, so I'll have to get it just for the sake of that. So is that like a recreational thing, taking all those? I know the medication I'm on, for some reason it messes with antihistamines, like the anti-allergy medicine, so I have to be careful about taking those together. Cool, yeah, that Kevlar helmet, that's a great price for it, but sadly I've not seen any like postings to the UK for less than that. What I could get is the UK Armed Police, as far as I'm aware, use Pascat helmets M88, so sometimes you can get the ex-UK Armed Police ones for about £30. The thing you have to be very careful with Pascat helmets is there's so many plastic airsoft ones that turn up in the search results. So you have to make sure you're buying like a real Kevlar one and not, Oh, well, I did the German earlier. Mein Deutsch ist nicht gut. Sprechen Sie English? Danke. I can do very basic maintenance on my car, but nothing major. But I think loads of people have heard, what's it, you know, my car's, I'm selling it in just over a week, and then I'm buying, and no worry if you didn't hear it earlier, but yeah, I'm buying a new car at the start of next month, so that'll be great when I get my new car, but I'm going to miss my current Golf. I really like my Golf. It's just a, you know, shame that, you know, it's just at the age where it's just too expensive to keep having every little job done on it, and it's a lot cheaper on insurance and everything else to get a new car, so I'm just going to do that. Yeah, sprechen Sie English? You know, that's funny, because I'm Englander. Yeah, the Chinese one, Peach, is the giant tumour on a single cheek filter. I have that feeling that's the cheek filter you can't take out either. They basically put the filter in the factory. By the time the soldiers were issued it, the filter could be expired. So, how useless is that for a mask? Here's your mask, there's a filter already in it. I hope it's not expired when you have to use it. Ulysses S. Grant shouldn't be some, like, anime thing or hentai thing. Ulysses S. Grant was an American Civil War general and later President of the US. Yeah, the troll hasn't turned up either, Mike. I had 1 or 2 stupid people I blocked, but that guy hasn't turned in with his 30 accounts. Apparently there was a few dislikes. I assume somebody with a few accounts did that. But yeah, just like Mike always says in his streams, like it if you haven't liked it so far, because if you click like, I think it does help people see the stream. But yeah, I was saying it's actually much easier for me to keep up with the chat. Because what I do is I make the screen full size. I use the full size pop-out chat because I don't need to check anything on the webcam that it's in frame. I can then control and use the mouse wheel, so it makes the chat a bit bigger than normal. So I've got it set to 120% at the moment, and 125%. And then I can read the chat really easily, and with slow mode on, it means I can answer a lot more of the questions, and it's just much nicer doing it this way for me. I'm just getting a Dacia Sandero, the top model, the Laureate, because I can get that for about £9 brand new, pretty much. So it's the affordability of it. It'll be cheap to run, cheap to insure. They're actually supposedly quite reliable Dacias, and they don't depreciate too much in price. So it means that, you know, I have a car I can run to death. You know, that should last me years and years and years. That's the idea. But yeah, as I said, I really like my Golf. It's just a shame it's got to the age now where, especially with how bad the potholes are on the roads, you know, I know something else with the suspension or like the underside of the car on the body kit's going to go soon. And then again, that's more cost to have that repaired. And then, because that's the worry with it, it's you always constantly keep thinking, you know, what's going to go wrong with it next. What was the thing, Vladimir, that you're saying where you forgot the question mark? Never mind. Yeah, that's cool. I'll be buying a helmet anyway, because like I said, I've got Patreon money, and it's good to actually spend my Patreon money on stuff for people who support my channel, rather than just letting it build up and doing nothing with it. So, that's what I do, is I let it build up to a bit. So when I cash the Patreon money out, I can actually buy something impressive with it. Like one time I bought a camera, but that camera is the one that's... It's better for filming outdoors and indoors, I found, because while it's a wider angle lens than my Sony, which is what I really wanted, with ceiling lights in a house, it always looks a bit grainy, but it has got the infrared on that, which is nice. So for filming inside infrared stuff, it's perfect. But for, I bought the Night Fox as well for the outside infrared stuff, which is really fun. But, you know, for most use, the Patreon stuff, I think, yeah, I'm going to cash it out and then either get a helmet or a mask. But I'm more tempted to do a helmet than, you know, buy a camo helmet cover in the type of camo pattern I want, and then buy another scrim net, cut the scrim net up, sew or glue that on, and then have like a really good kind of actual camo, you know, like break your shape up and have a good ballistic helmet kind of helmet. Holy Grail gas mask, maybe Avon M50, C50 or the Canadian C4. None of those I have, but I want all 3 of them. I have the Horizon Redback, which is really powerful, but I don't have an Armex Tron. At some point I might get one. Oh, thank you, ich bin super. Greetings from Germany. Danke, Dankeschön. You can have my embarrassing German there. Thanks for €2. Like I was saying earlier in the chat, I can't speak good German, but thank you very much. Yeah, I've got a Tomcat alloy. The thing is with the Tomcat one, it's not actually £80. Weapon Collector did a really good video where he was using luggage scales to measure the draw weight of it. What was it, Mike? Like £40 or £50? £55 draw weight, something like that. Whereas the Redback is much closer to an actual £80 draw weight, which is why it's a lot harder to cock, but it shoots a lot faster. Yeah, I like the look of that. Yeah, £42, so there you go. The ones that are meant to be £80 are nowhere near £80, that's the thing. And then, don't forget with a crossbow, once you've cocked it, that's how much effort it takes to actually cock it. You get even less energy output from a crossbow that goes into the bolt. Oh, if you're on about the new one, yeah, that's the one I was thinking of getting. Like, not the, because when you say Tomcat 2, or is it Tomcat Mark 2? So this is a really confusing thing, is there's so many with the thing. NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's basically, it was the Western powers during the Cold War, like the kind of alliance pact. So yeah, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. I don't know if PACT stood for anything, P-A-C-T, or if that was just Warsaw Pact, like the Warsaw Agreement. But, I mean, obviously I know Warsaw is because it was signed in Warsaw, in Poland, when they actually signed all that together, which is basically Russia saying, "Oh, you're all the conquered countries suffering under communism are meat shields now," which is basically what the Warsaw Pact was. But I like a lot of the Warsaw Pact equipment and like uniforms and that, they look very cool. But like I said, I find lots of things of the Soviet Union really interesting, but I do not like the Soviet Union for what they did, especially Stalin. Chinese TF1 is good in the sense it takes NATO filters. It's bad in the sense that often the valves seem to stick on it. It would still work, but it ends up farting around your face rather than just using the exhale valve. Yeah, that's the one that looks quite good. I've seen Blades and Bows have a few on there. Oh, when I was volunteering today, when we were putting paper in the litter trays, I did see a thing about assault crossbows where it was saying Merlin Archery sell these deadly crossbows. You know, assault crossbows, I did see all that bollocks. I think that's an old bit of newspaper. But, you know, it was being pissed and shat on like it deserved. Not fit to wipe your ass, really, with a newspaper. I'll get to your question in a moment, Storm, because I was just going to answer the one. For the US masks, the Avon M50 is apparently very good. If you're in the US, that is. It's very good, but it doesn't take 40mm filters. The C50 does, but the M50 is what the Army uses now. FM12s you can buy in America because the Avon factory in America makes them for a lot of US police forces. Like, I think the FBI and, like, CIA and, lots of actual police forces and SWAT teams use the FM12 and CT12. But for the older American masks, the M40 is pretty good, but you need to get the second skin for it because they made the mask out of silicone, so while it's very comfortable apparently, you know, it's very weak against chemical agents. I like the old M9 though, out of the old US masks. So who do I think would, see ya if you're off, who do I think would win the fight, Hitler or Stalin? Well, I think Hitler was taller than Stalin, wasn't he? I think Hitler was about 5'8". I think Stalin was even shorter than that. Stalin also had a withered arm. I mean, in World War II, obviously, Stalin won. But in reality, if they had to have a fight to the death, I think Hitler might win because he doesn't have a withered arm and he's taller. But maybe Stalin's heavier, who knows? I think if Mussolini was fighting them, though, I think Mussolini looks a lot tougher than those two. Out the other dictators, I don't know who'd weigh in on that fight. See ya, everybody who's off. But yeah, I think out of Hitler or Stalin, if it was like a boxing match or wrestling, I think Hitler would win. But obviously in the actual fight, like in the actual war, obviously Stalin won, as we know. But there was a very interesting video on Stefan Molyneux's Free Domain Radio, if you've not seen this, about Soviet infiltration of America and Britain during World War II. And some of the stuff in some of the stuff he mentioned in there, and like the author was mentioning in there, was really interesting about how lots of the stuff on the Western Front and with Japan was supposedly done so the Soviets could, you know, creep even further into Europe. Because of, you know, all the people who were Soviet apologists in the government. Yeah, like you said, Hitler was a meth head, took all sorts of drugs, so yeah, maybe Hitler's going to be high as a kite, but then would he be disqualified? For, you know, oh, your comment didn't even show, there you go, Panzer Cop. Because Hitler's on all the meth, would that mean he'd get disqualified if it was actual sport, for, you know, doping? Because maybe they disqualify Hitler for his, all the methamphetamine he was taking for that. No, Simo would just snipe him from really far away. You can't beat Simo. I mean, Simo was really short though, wasn't he? But you didn't mess with that guy. I mean, yeah, who would win? One Finnish farmer with a rifle or the entire Red Army pushing into Finland? We all know what happened. Oh, he was an amazing sniper, wasn't he? Didn't even use a... I've heard his name's pronounced like Hee-Ha or Hey-Ha. I have no idea how you're meant to actually pronounce his name, but... yeah, short little guy, the White Death in the snow. Yeah, killed like hundreds of Russians, didn't he, when they were invading? Some with his submachine gun, but most of his rifle. Yeah, they look quite similar from what I've seen, Mike. I'm tempted to get one of the new Armex ones, though, at some point, because they do look good. Simo Hauha. Okay, thanks. I'd say the Russians on that one, because the Banzai charges normally just ran into automatic weapons. That was the problem, is, while Japan, I guess, had very good morale and everything else, in the sense that they did want to die for the Emperor. That's not a very practical military tactic, running into machine guns and, you know, killing yourself if you've had a defeat for the dishonour of it. That's not how you really win a war. I mean, I know they were screwed anyway, Japan, because against the might of the US sort of Navy and the Marines and everything else, and I know Britain was doing some stuff in the Pacific to aid America in the war as well. And then they were fighting the Soviets in Manchuria, weren't they? So they were really screwed. But what did I miss? Yeah, some of the medieval Italian stuff I really like. I've got a replica of an Italian medieval mace. I like that. I really like the old Italian crossbows from that period, and you know, like the Genoese crossbowmen. Like, that stuff's really cool. No, the boots I've got some old Austrian or German mountain kind of paratrooper boots, and then I've got a few Dunlop steel toe cap boots. And I've got like walking boot trainer type things as well. Well, I've got lots of videos on the M17 if you're interested in it. It wasn't a brilliant mask. In concept, it was meant to do a lot of stuff. I think, let me tell you what day it's coming out, because I've got a video coming out about the M17 and GSR. And it's all about masks that are great in concept, but in reality they fell quite far short of what they were meant to be. So let me have a look. The video is called Masks Great in Concept, Awful in Reality, and it is scheduled for June the 9th at 5 PM. So it's Saturday's video at 5 PM, because there's not going to be a 1 PM video on Saturday and Sunday anymore, because it's too much work for me at the moment. But yeah. Saturday's video at 5 PM includes a big bit on the M17. Although I don't think I used the M17 in the video, I think I used the Czech M10 or M10M, but you know, the point was the cheek filter masks, because they all were kind of cool in concept, but none of them ever worked out in reality. I don't have a Romanian M74, so I can't actually answer that. Apparently it was a licensed copy, though, of the M65, so that would make me think it would be NATO, like Stanag, but they were in the Warsaw Pact to Romania, as far as I'm aware, so then I'd think it would be GOST, so I really don't know. If I ever get one, I will tell you. That's one of the masks people keep asking me to get over and over, but the problem is I've never seen one for a sensible price on eBay, so like the people asking me about other countries' masks, I'll get one when I can get one for a sensible price. Yeah, the Dead Men is, I think, the World War I thing where there were Russians that were gassed with enough chemical weapons that should have killed them, and then they charged and counterattacked the Germans and kicked the shit out of them. I don't know, maybe your card doesn't work with Patreon, I don't know. I didn't see anything come through from anybody a while ago. I can check my Patreon if you want for me now. Now I'll check my emails and see if I've got a Patreon alert. But I've had a few people say that, you know, Patreon Super Chat won't charge their cards, and I think maybe was it you who just pledged $2? Because I had somebody pledge $2 and somebody pledge $1. So if that's people in the stream, thank you very much for that. So yeah, that has been charged apparently. I will sort you out later on through Patreon chat. I will PM you Discord server invites for both of you. I'll do that once I finish the stream. So thank you for that. So it looks like you have been charged and it has gone through for that. No, that's cool. I don't have a PO box. Like I said, I'm not currently accepting things because of all the people that send me death threats and whatever other bollocks. I'm sure that's all fake. But at the moment, I don't have a PO box for that reason and for the sake of I need to clear up more space. I think Beastor's sending me some stuff, so when I see what he sends me, I'll be doing some videos on that. So that's probably more stuff from communist Poland and stuff like that, and modern Polish stuff. No, I didn't know about the thing. The thing. I know there's lots of cool spy stuff where they hid microphones and cameras and lots of weird stuff. Like, wasn't there one in a clock as well where they gave a gift to an embassy and it was like a clock or like a wall clock and it actually had a camera and like recording devices in as well? Could maybe do that for the Patreon stuff, but I have had people on the Patreon cause problem I've had to ban. Like, there was one guy who joined just so he could try and invite loads and loads of people to the Discord server. That's why I've now had to make it invite only. You know, like, once you pledge money, I now generate you a custom link that only works once that I send to the people individually. Because, like I said, when I used to have the thing where it just, you clicked a link and then you had the thing, he then started giving loads of people the link and then went, oh no I didn't, even though people had screenshotted him handing out the link to people. So yeah, even Patreon isn't totally secure, to be honest, with people even giving me money, but yeah, I mean, I might get a PO box in the future, we'll see. But yeah, at the moment, the other problem is I need to clear out loads of space in the house. I did chuck a load of stuff out the other week, but the issue is obviously all this stuff takes up space, all the old masks and helmets and whatever else, and you do start running out of space really quickly, especially when you've got 80 odd masks in your collection, plus medieval weapons, plus helmets, plus machetes, plus crossbows, plus air rifles. All this stuff does start adding up, surprisingly. Yeah, I don't know how much it costs for a PO box. It's not so much the cost of it, it's just more, you know, the actual security concerns over it, and also clearing up space and everything. Well, I really like some of the German World War II SS camos. Some of them did look really good, like the World War II 44 dot, I think it is, like the original Flecktarn. But there's some of the there's also, yeah, some of the Russian Gorka suit camos. There's one Gorka suit one I really like. It's the one that's green, kind of a yellowy brown colour, and I think there's another colour. I'm sure some of you know which camo I'm on about, but you know, that's the one I really like. What I'm sure if I have the Patreon PO box, some American is probably going to try and send me a gun. I'm sure that is going to happen at some point. Somebody's going to send me something that will definitely get me arrested. You on about Mad Jack Churchill? I don't think he was a general. I'm pretty sure it's Mad Jack Churchill, his name. The one who played the bagpipes and all that. Yeah, I think, pretty sure that's this guy. Yeah, I've had people who've, when I did the Redback video, said, oh, you're lying, you're faking the tests, the other crossbows are just as powerful, and they really weren't when the Redback came out. Is Oscam the Australian one that's like, it reminds me a bit of the French camos, it's like the brown and green kind of circle camo? Is that the one I'm thinking of? That looks quite cool, but again, I've never seen it for sale over here for sensible prices. And the thing I don't like about buying camo on eBay compared to buying other stuff on eBay is you can't tell how faded it is before it arrives. The thing I did like about surplus shops, even if they were a bit expensive, is you could look through the camos and pick the least faded stuff out. But, you know. But yeah, like I said, I've already had lots of people contact me about stuff that's really illegal, and I've always had to block them, or, you know, tell them politely no the first time, and if they persist, block them, where people have talked about, like, oh, this is how you could buy a gun in the UK, or like, how do I make this type of poison gas? Yeah, but UK customs are really half-assed. I mean, customs most of the time just steal stuff. That's another thing as well, is if you're sending me stuff from abroad, lots of times customs, somebody at customs say, oh, that's nice, I'll have that. they'll nick it, and then you'll have sent me that, you'll spend all your money on it, and I won't ever get it because customs, the being bastards, have stolen it. Because I've had stuff I've ordered before, and customs have stolen it over and over again. Teddy Roosevelt, easily. Teddy got shot, didn't he? And he carried on with his speech even after he was shot. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure customs opens a lot of my parcels, but I've ordered things like gloves from China and stuff like that, and lots of them have just been seized by customs, and I've never had them, even though, you know, they don't break any laws. I think Mike was saying there was some guy who was like, yeah, I work in customs and I steal your shit. You know, but because they work for the government, they can get away with stealing people's shit, unfortunately. Really, they should be in prison because they're thieves, but yeah, that's the thing with PO boxes. If people are sending me stuff from abroad, it might not even get to me, and it would have been a waste of their money and time. And people sending stuff in the UK, you know, I have to be careful what they're sending me as well. Alright, see you if you're off. I'll probably only be on a few more minutes. How long have I been doing the stream for now? YouTube will tell me. I have been on for 1 hour and 40 minutes, which is fairly long for me doing a stream, to be honest. But 31 people watching, that's fairly nice. But yeah, as I said, I like doing it a lot more this way, because it's easier to concentrate just on the chat box and nothing else for a while. I've not played the game, mate, so I can't really do a video on the gas masks in it. The mask that what's-his-name has, Hunk, is normally just an S10 with red lenses. In some games it looks like a regular S10, in others it's got like a weird voice amplifier thing on the front. But yeah, that's the Hunk mask, but I don't know about the other people's masks. Let me just Google it for you quickly and I'll see if any of them are real masks. So, Operation Raccoon City gas mask. Let's see if what comes up on Google Images. Not many screenshots from the game, unfortunately. Yeah, Hunk's got the S10 with the stuff stuck on it, or an FM12 with the stuff stuck on it. There's a mask without a filter on it by the look of it, so that's great. There's a guy who's modified an S10 apparently to look like the one from the game for a cosplay thing. But yeah, by the look of it, most of them aren't real masks, or they're modified S10s. I think there's one that looks like a 3M mask with no filters on it. Again, no filters on masks is a common thing, isn't it, with these games? But S10 is the actual mask that they... all S10s have a voice diaphragm. Do you mean a voice amplifier? The reason it's rare is because it's unneeded, because the S10 is designed so, and the FM12, that you can clip a microphone for a radio onto the side of the mask. So you don't need the voice amplifier, it's totally pointless. So that's why it's very rare. When I've seen things of them, often it looks like people have just stuck the one from the M40 on it. That's kind of interesting, but I'm sure they just arrest me, Vladimir, and say I'm a Russian spy. I mean, it's kind of like if somebody goes into a shop and they're underage and buys a knife, the person who sold them the knife in the shop or whatever else can go to prison and get like thousands of pounds in fines. Type in US optical gas mask. It's the World War II optical gas mask. They're the ghost people masks from New Vegas, the Sierra Madre DLC ones, the Dead Money ones, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I might wrap the stream up in a minute because it's gone 10 o'clock now, and I'll probably want to get some food because I've not really had any dinner today. Because, again, the medication sometimes puts me off my food. But yeah, thank you everybody for the donations, the super chat, and the 2 people who have supported me on Patreon. What I will do for you as soon as I finish the stream is I will PM you Discord links. That's another weird thing, but I don't think the Queen herself approved my driving licence. But yeah, the people who have given me stuff on Patreon, I will sort you out your Discord links as soon as I can. and then if you click them and let me know if there's any problems. Thanks for the donation as well, Wickman Super, that was nice of you. And yeah, it might be easier for me to do more streams like this, to be honest, where I don't bother setting up the webcam. And yeah, cool, I'll be watching your stream, Mike. I can watch your streams this week, but next week I'll be doing the play, so I won't be able to watch your streams because they'll be on while I'm actually acting. But as in Discord invites to my Patreon only Discord server. That's the only thing. People who donate in Super Chat, if you want to PM me on YouTube, I will also give you a link if you want it, because it's a bit unfair if I say people who only donate to me on Patreon can have it if they've donated on here. But yeah, like I said, but for people who do want to donate, it's easiest if you just do it through Patreon, and I can PM you through Patreon with the thing. But YouTube have said they're actually removing the private message feature from YouTube soon, which is really bad. So that's going away soon, and they're not going to replace it. So I've actually got protein powder, but I never like the stuff. It's always like too sickly or too gloopy whenever I've tried a thing. And if it's protein powder, a lot of the calories you get from that aren't nutritious. It's like the same reason you get rabbit starvation if you you know, eat rabbits non-stop as a survival thing. You know, because if the food is too high in protein and too low in like carbs and fat, the human body can't actually survive on it, which is a really interesting thing. If you're trying to eat that kind of stuff for bulking, what you actually want is the like they normally call it bulking powder, don't they? But whenever I've tried those, there's a meal replacement. They're just disgusting because they're always like concrete sludge when you mix it with milk or water. I think the easiest things to drink apparently are like, although you need a doctor to give you on prescription so you don't spend an arm and leg on them, is like the cancer patient stuff. Is it called like E-Shore? It's like a drink they do for people who can't really eat solid foods because they're on they're like nauseous or whatever. So that's a thing to consider, I guess. But for the most part, I can eat food fine. It's just now and again the medication can make me feel ill and put me a bit off the food. Anyway, so yeah, thanks to everybody. I'll sort the patrons out, the new patrons out, their links. Yeah, I've tried mine with Blender, but with a lot of them it worked out. But what I normally did, I think with mine to make them more drinkable, was I just used less powder per shake than they recommended. You know, like for the same volume of milk or water, I'd use half powder rather than the recommended powder, and they were a lot more drinkable. But anyway, yeah, thank you everybody. Hope you've enjoyed the stream. As I said, it's much easier for me to do them this way, and it means I can do the streams for a bit longer. So yeah, good night everybody. It was nice today because we had mostly people behaving in the chat rather than messing about. So yeah, see everybody.